Servet, I said I wanted to come back to the work you've done on foster care. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you've done there?
When I had started college, I knew I was interested in social justice, but I didn't really kind of have a really specific interest in channeling that energy. And I thought social justice was too broad of an idea that I wanted to kind of focus on a specific aspect. So that summer, my mentor had suggested that I work at the Children's Law Center of New York, which is a nonprofit law firm that represents 8,000 children in New York City every year in custody, guardianship, orders of protection, child support cases. When I first started, I would go home oftentimes and be very upset at some of the stories that I heard, but even more so I felt empowered to kind of stay in the system and affect some sort of change. I think one thing I wanted to do was to be a voice for the voiceless, and I thought this was the perfect avenue for that. So I went back the summer of my sophomore year to do specifically policy work, and there I worked on mainly post-adoption sibling visitation, adoption subsidy fraud, and broken adoptions as like my three main policy areas. And I was fortunate that summer to go and present at the National Foster Parents Association in Florida, the American Bar Association in DC. So it was really kind of getting the voice out there, and I had started working on my first law review article with the Capital University Law School. It was until then I had kind of just built up I was doing a lot of learning, but also a lot of advocacy. And then eventually my mentor at the Children's Law Center and I were invited to go consult basically to help build Ireland's first children's rights practice in Dublin. So when I was studying abroad in Madrid, I flew over, thanks to your office, to go to Dublin and speak to them about practices that are working in the United States that Dublin could adopt. And at that point, we were also invited to speak at the UN's 25th anniversary on the adoption of the Convention on the Rights for the Child, to speak specifically about the interdisciplinary nature of child advocacy, how that when you're an attorney for the child, you need to make sure that child's developing correctly, has appropriate social skills. You need to know the difference between an immersion burn and a contact burn. You're that child's psychologist, you're that child's teacher, you're that child's social worker. You have so many more roles than just being an attorney, and what that means for having that child's voice heard in court. And then once we gave a talk about that, we were approached by a bunch of different countries and academics from there who want to adopt similar models. So I'm very excited to say that what started as a small internship in Brooklyn by my freshman year led to international conferences thanks to Amherst by the end of my junior year. So I'm very grateful.
It's amazing.